Now, unbiased access to a vaccine for everyone who needs it in South Africa. That's the main goal of the People's Vaccine Campaign. Today, the organization is launching its new Train the Trainers manual. It says it will be a tool in the fight against vaccine inequality and hesitancy. Let's chat some more about this now with Martin Jansen from the campaign. Martin, good morning. Thanks so much for your time. It's quite a manual. It's very, very in-depth. So let's start with why the need for a manual like this. Doesn't everybody know how to vaccinate?
Okay, look, I think as we all aware, South Africa and in many parts of the world, there's been this problem of vaccine hesitancy, which has been made worse by all these conspiracy theories and fake news, particularly through social media. So we found, just anecdotally and even through research, that even health workers in South Africa, many of them are reluctant to take the vaccine. And that poses a big, big problem, because if our health workers are meant to administer the vaccine are reluctant, they're likely to have an impact on patients and communities, etc. So a key thrust of our campaign, but particularly the manual and the education that we intend rolling out, is about vaccine literacy and to overcome, the problem or even the crisis of vaccine hesitancy, and to educate our communities about vaccines, the need for vaccines. And as a campaign, we do see it as the proverbial silver bullet that can actually counteract the pandemic and eventually get us back to normality. So vaccines are crucial, and our communities need to be educated about vaccines and how we can achieve herd immunity to ensure that we overcome this pandemic as soon as possible.
So is this manual only for healthcare workers? Who should have a copy of this?
Oh, no. Look, it's mainly targeting, I suppose, what we can refer to as community activists from all sectors of civil society. Healthcare workers are obviously a very important sector, and we're targeting them as well, particularly through their trade unions, but it's across the board. It's, you could say, for all South Africans, but particularly those who are most disadvantaged and poor, who have very little access necessary, to information and education. So we plan to roll out, this Train the Trainer workshops to hundreds of educators, community activists, etc. And we're targeting, sectors like the religious community, trade unions, even the sports community, to educate them. But very importantly, because we're talking about millions of people, we will need to train hundreds of trainers who will then roll it out in communities and to different sectors in our society. So that's really the plan. It's to reach thousands of trainers and then hopefully millions of our people.
So you've told us about the aim, you've told us about why this information needs to get out there. But Martin, how does this manual actually do that? Just by glancing at it, yes, you've got an A to Z sort of explanation of all the terms, so that's very handy as well. What else is in here to help achieve the aims of this manual?
Okay, look, the big area of the manual is what we call vaccine literacy. So, quite a bit of the manual is about the immune system of the body and issues, questions like antibodies and how the body develops antibodies. And then in relation to that, the role of vaccines in doing that, and ultimately herd immunity in our society and hopefully globally in the world. Now, it's quite difficult for laypersons like ourselves to come to grips with the science of that. So we've spent a lot of time, in fact, 2 months, trying to develop the material in such a way that it's accessible and understandable to ordinary people, laypersons like ourselves, and even more so people who haven't necessarily had a good educational background. So the methods are quite important. They're predominantly participatory on the one hand, but because it's science and new learning, there will be inputs, but we're going to use creative ways of doing that, like posters and animations, videos, etc., etc. And these, what normally in education or in schools are called teachers' aids, will be given and made available to the trainers that we're going to train, so that they could readily roll it out, without any difficulty in their constituencies and in their communities. So that's kind of the approach of the manual. But it also gives guidance on methods, and frequently asked questions and challenges. And in fact, when we launch the manual at 10 this morning, we're going to reflect on the 2 pilot workshops that we ran in Khayelitsha and the other one in Johannesburg at the Constitutional Hill, where we learned quite a bit about the challenges relating to the learning and how to overcome those. So we're going to start dealing with those as well.
Okay, fantastic. Well, it's great that you're launching this. It happens to be World Health Day as well, so well done on the manual, and I'm sure a lot of work went into that. They will be launching that at 10 o'clock this morning. Martin, we'll let you go get ready for that. That's the People's Vaccine Campaign on their Train the Trainers manual, and they were hoping to fight against vaccine inequality and vaccine hesitancy, and it's all laid out here, A to Z, as we said. Well,